And welcome back to Orlando. Still so many questions of what could motivate a gunman to, we know, kill now 49 victims in all of this. We know the president spoke earlier. And again, it's, did he have ties to a terror group? Was he radicalized via the internet? Homegrown terror. The president hit on that. Let's give it a listen.
At this stage, we see no clear evidence that he was directed externally. It does appear that at the last minute, he announced allegiance to ISIL, but there is no evidence so far that he was in fact directed by ISIL, and there also at this stage is no direct evidence that he was part of a larger plot.
There you go, the president, again, intimating not part of a larger plot. Homegrown via the internet. Paul Viollis joins us now, terrorism analyst. Let's start there. And good to see you, by the way. I mean, just somebody at home who's disgruntled, who's vulnerable to some teachings on the internet, and you have this? That's where it can go?
That's the genesis of this, Mike, and that's the thing that the viewers at home really need to understand, is that there are clear telltale signs when you take a kid like this as to when this actually started. What was the impetus behind it? Where is the genesis about him being recruited? How was he recruited? Who recruited him? And what promulgated this? He's going to send off signs, no matter who it is. They're going to send off signs and changes of behavior. These are things that all of us as Americans can and will observe. We just need to educate ourselves more on what that looks like and know when to report those things. That's key.
Okay, so and Director James Comey, FBI Director Comey, talked about the instance where he's on the radar. In 2013, he's talking about he has terror ties, and then he goes on to say, well, then he said he was angry, and the end of the day, it's an inconclusive, and we go on. Then another time, he's got ties to someone who's a suicide bomber. That's inconclusive as well. What do we do with that? What signs were there? I mean, because I'm not saying the FBI didn't do their due diligence on this one.
You know what it comes down to, Mike, when you look at that? It's a numbers game. So you only have so many agents that are going to be assigned to counterterrorism. And from that, you're going to have this plethora of phone calls and of people wanting to just confess to things that they haven't even done. So the agents have to really legitimize that, validate it, sort through it, filter it, and then come down to saying, okay, I'm going to interview these folks. And then from that, there has to be clear, substantiated evidence in order to move forward with a case. If there isn't, then, you know what? They simply can't do anything about it. And then there are clearly, they know a person. And it's a very frustrating point for us right now.
I think Director Comey said this at the end, and I'll try and get it right. He said, and he talked about how difficult things are. You're looking for a needle in a haystack, but sometimes it's like the haystack becomes needles. It's just such a difficult, what rises up to what level, and how do you know what to go after?
A lot of it, too, Mike's chicken and the egg. Now, you take a look at what happened in San Bernardino. Right now, you and I, we're students of history. We know that it's a cause-event-result cycle. It constantly repeats itself. So when we take a look at what happened in Paris, what happened in Brussels, what happened in San Bernardino, and now what happened right here in Orlando, we're seeing the same thing. The very core of these behaviors is congruent from one incident to the other. And those are the things that clearly, how we get ahead of this thing, instead of living in fear, is understanding what that looks like and making sure America understands what they look like so that this homegrown approach of recruiting our own youth via the internet, we can start doing something about that.
Real quick, concern? You fearful? Are we up for the task? Where are we?
We are clearly up for the task, but we have to do a better job at allowing the American citizen to take ownership over their lives and stop screaming at the rain and making everybody afraid. We can do that, but we've got to make a concerted effort to tell everybody what this behavior actually means and what it leads to. And if we do that, we're going to start winning.
There you go. Paul Viollis, great to have your expertise.
Always, Mike. Thank you.
A little bit later as well. As Michaela Pereira is going to come on board here in just a moment, have a special concerning the tragedy that's unfolded here in Orlando. One of the heart-lifting stories, one of many, is when people rise up to help those, to help save a life. Yes, you want to get out of a place like Pulse, but you want to turn around and make sure someone close gets the help they need so they can survive. We have that story here for you. Stay with us.